Have you ever been scrolling and come across a comment saying, "At your big age"? Or perhaps someone online has told you, "Aren't you too old for that?" You normally see these types of comments on people sharing interests that they have when it comes to things like what they collect or their fashion or aesthetic choices. For example, when people collect things like
Pokemon, Monster High, Care Bears, Transformers, Hot Wheels, Lala Loopsy, Littlest Pet Shop,
My Freaking Little Pony. The list can literally go on forever. But usually when someone is sharing their interest that might be from something marketed towards children or a younger audience, you get a lot of people who will find it cringe, or they personally think it would be embarrassing to have interests like that. You know, instead of just scrolling away or clicking not interested, a lot of people will comment something along the lines of, "At your grown age," because they can't wrap their head around someone being interested in something they deem childish or immature. Now, you know, anyone can have a childish interest. Never lose your whimsy. Always be free. Always be magical. So today, my friends, I thought it would be kind of interesting to have a little bit of a conversation about where this came from, why I think it's harmful, and the reason why people may collect childish things. Also, hey guys, welcome to my closet. Temporary solution, temporary background. Green screen's right there. Don't worry, she'll be brought in, okay? No one panic. No one panic. But anyways, buckle in. Time for a chat. I feel a little bit like Freddy Fazbear hanging out in this closet. Not going to lie. But before we begin, I have a super quick disclaimer to go over, so please bear with me. I did my very best to research everything in this video, but if I got something wrong or I missed something, please feel free to inform me down in the comments. I more than appreciate being educated on certain topics. Everything I'm saying here in this video is said in good faith. I don't want to harm anyone. I don't want to... No ill intentions here. I also want to be extremely clear, okay? This video is about people who have interests that others deem immature or childish or normal, safe for work, whimsical reasons, okay? This video is not for anyone using these hobbies or interests to harm kids or invade spaces specifically made for children. That's creepy, you're creepy. As well as a lot of people use that "aren't you too grown for this" when talking about people's actions and behaviors as adults, such as like Karens and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about in this video. That's a whole different conversation. This video is specifically about hobbies and interest and things like that. Basically, everything I'm talking about in this video is for pure whimsical reasons. Don't get it twisted now. Don't get it twisted. Anyways, if you take one good look at me, you can probably tell I collect things people would consider childish. I love silly things. I love trinkets. I love art from fandom spaces. I love bright and colorful things. Actually, I have a box of dinosaurs right next to me. You want to see some? This one is my favorite. Whoa. One look around my space and it's literally insane. The room of overstimulation, we call it. I remember in high school, my best friend came over, looked around my room and said, "Man, this is gonna suck when you get a little older and aren't into these things anymore. And you have to take all these posters down." Well, 6 years later, man, those posters are still up, baby. My interest still going strong. Interests can stick with you forever, or they can just be a passing phase. What doesn't make sense is the idea that when you grow up, the things that you used to love are suddenly things that you shouldn't enjoy anymore. When I was a kid, I loved drawing and painting. And as an adult, I still love drawing and I still love painting. Sure, my style changed, but the enjoyment that I get out of it didn't. Same with video games. I don't play as much as I did as a kid, but I still enjoy them. Why do people feel the need to push onto others that they have to lose all their fun hobbies as soon as they hit a certain age? Why do people police age-appropriate interest? But before we begin, super bat balls, that's right. These were graciously gifted to me, as much of the stuff is in my collection, but watch. You can't see, buddy. Bounce. Trust. A lot of people believe that your childhood interest should stay in your childhood. And if you carry that with you into adulthood, automatically seen as immature. In Western culture, and I'm sure other places as well, adulthood is tied to seriousness and productivity. And to a point, people expect you to give up on your joy-based hobbies because you need to be focusing on work or schooling or your career so you can be rich and successful. And yeah, I guess those things are important, but so is your happiness, so is your joy. Things that bring you peace and things that bring you comfort. No matter how juvenile they may seem, you have a right to experience happiness. A lot of the time, hobbies or interests that are directed towards younger audiences are seen as immature. Or maybe it's because something is colorful or cute or nostalgia-based. It's a big old childish label right on the front automatically. A lot of women, young girls, or any feminine presenting person are at a very sad disadvantage when it comes to having their interest labeled as immature or childish, because a lot of interests that are coded as feminine get shamed a lot more than the masculine ones. Sport merch, Hot Wheels, Star Wars, these are all seen as pretty normal hobbies. I will say, there's still people out there who call these things childish no matter what. I hear you guys, don't worry. I have a Hot Wheels wall. I got you, brother. I got you. But my Hot Wheels wall is definitely more accepted than my Care Bear collection. Yes, I have one. Yes, they're cool. One has a walkie-talkie, okay? Leave me alone. Feminine coded hobbies like Hello Kitty, certain fashion styles, Squishmallows, or really any plushies like Jellycats. I think that's their name. Sorry if I got that wrong. But a lot of them are automatically labeled as embarrassing. This can especially happen to a lot of feminine presenting people once they hit 18, sometimes younger in some cases, like around those late teens, where you're not allowed to like girly things anymore. You can't like cute clothing or pigtails or cute little trinkets or collectibles because they're automatically seen as childish, or unfortunately, they're really highly sexualized. Even though the only thing about these interests is usually that they're feminine and cute. That's a whole nother video on its own that you guys probably don't want to hear a man yap about. And I do want to say this is an issue that affects everybody, even guys with feminine interest. If you have one, you've probably noticed this too, that there's just this divide when it comes to masculine and feminine hobbies or interests. Feminine ones are more likely to be called immature, regardless of the gender of the person who has that hobby. A good example is when collecting Hello Kitty stuff kind of blew up online. After a while, people started making fun of people who collected Hello Kitty stuff, calling them crazy Hello Kitty girls. And I'm sure most of it was all in good fun, you know, but it started to be used by some people to look down or shame others for having this interest, saying stuff like, stay away from those Hello Kitty girls, they're crazy. So I only have one Hello Kitty thing in my collection. I have like 1 or 2 Sanrio items, but is my freaking Naruto Hello Kitty. You cannot tell me that does not go hard. Spin it for him, kitty. Spin it for him. 360 spin. Even when people do collect things that are technically geared towards adults, like cups or other household items, you still see comments hitting them with a big, at your prehistoric age? So why does the comment, at your big age, not only just hurt people in general, but specifically neurodivergent people? Again, I'm making this crystal clear. Anyone can experience these types of comments being said to them, and also anyone can relate to what I'm about to say. No one is excluded from this conversation. A lot of neurodivergent adults and teens tend to hold on to childhood joys. Their interests are often lifelong special interests. Collections provide structure, comfort, and a sense of identity for many people. A lot of people just assume it's weird instead of understanding that it's a coping tool for many. Growing up neurodivergent often means missing out on certain childhood experiences. Have you ever been told, wow, you're so mature for your age? But that's only because you weren't able to express yourself as a kid. Maybe you were even forced to grow up too fast. Or maybe because of bullying or other life circumstances, you felt that you had to minimize yourself, constantly masking who you really are because any hints of your true self was automatically shut down. So sometimes the reason you see people in their adulthoods having childish interests because adulthood is their first safe chance to experience things freely. Or maybe it's their first financial chance that they're able to spend their adult money on things they never got to experience as a kid. Whether it be for financial reasons or personal reasons, getting to live through experiences and joys that you weren't able to as a kid is a big reason why people older collect childish things. And also, you can just collect something because you like it. You don't need to have some deep lore. Not to mention, and this is coming from personal experience as a neurodivergent person, could you guys tell? Could you tell? But neurodivergent people get infantilized quite a bit without even having childish interest. So adding an interest like doll collecting on top of being neurodivergent already, you can see how people would react. A good example of this is how fans reacted to Love on the Spectrum contestants. Not every fan, by the way, but there was quite a few that even though these adults had businesses, jobs, even own their own apartments in some cases, a lot of people still found a way to treat them like little kids. And once again, this is kind of a topic that deserves its own video for another day, but let's move on. So having to already fight people who treat you less than because of your disability, and then when you share your collections, your joys, your hobbies online, to only be met with, aren't you too old for that? Only reinforces this narrative that neurodivergent adults aren't real adults, unless they're fully masking and have appropriate interest at all times. Which is why I think this way of thinking for not only neurodivergent people, but everyone, I want to include everyone in this conversation as well, but it kind of sucks because it feels like no matter what you do, no one will take you seriously because you just so happen to like the color pink. But anyways, let's take a step back and focus on the bigger picture. Let's talk about the psychology behind collecting, aka why this is normal and why it's beneficial. let's talk about the benefits of collecting and having an interest. This conversation is going to be about healthy collecting. This isn't about hoarding or over-consuming situations. This isn't about people who buy a bunch of junk and then donate it to thrift stores a few days later. That's a different conversation that I might have a video cooking up on very soon, friends. Stay tuned. This is about genuine collecting, which takes a lot of time and effort to accumulate. It's actually shown that nostalgia can reduce stress. It can improve moods and also create a sense of stability. And in a world full of chaos, being surrounded by things you know you love, things that bring you joy and comfort, can help some people feel grounded and safe, or simply help people enjoy the space that they have to spend every day and night in. Not only that, but it can help give people a sense of agency or control. Creating displays, organizing your collections, or hunting down very specific pieces, it's all very mindful. And this goes for any type of collecting, not just childish ones. But when people really put time into decorating and organizing their space and their displays, and then when they hunt down specific things for those displays, how can you call that childish? Takes a lot of time, money, and effort. For some people, it's like an art museum or a personal passion project. And it can also help those find communities. Being interested in a certain topic, either collecting things from those fandoms or from that hobby, can help people form friendships, feel a place of belonging, and help some people with their self-expression. Shaming people for having childish interests cuts people off from that community and finding their sense of self. For some people, even just wearing an alternative, cute, or out-of-the-norm outfit brings people so much joy. And in some people's eyes, when they see someone walking down the street in a colorful outfit, they automatically assume they're childish or unprofessional. But honestly, if you want to have a closet full of pastel pink or bright colors, anything out of the norm, and that brings you joy, and it's not harming anyone else, why do these people care? If someone likes collecting Sonic figures or stuffed animals in their own home, with their own money, and on their own time, why does it matter that you think it's immature? You want people to get rid of everything that brings them joy just so they seem more mature? You want them to be like you, scrolling and commenting on TikToks all day? Yeah, man, you sound real grown. Anyways, let's reframe this whole conversation. Loving something doesn't expire. You were allowed to grow and change with your interest that you had when you were a kid. Sure, they will probably change and morph with you because you're older now, but you don't have to completely abandon them in fear of looking childish. And obviously, it's really important to respect the spaces that these interests are coming from. But if you're not hurting anyone, then what's the problem?
And yeah, I think Disney adults are a little crazy sometimes, not gonna lie.
But if they're not hurting anyone and they're having a blast collecting the ears and going to the parks every day, what's the issue? Because you find it personally cringe? Who cares? It's not your money. It's not your time. Whatever, bro. Go do your thing. No one is failing at adulthood for having joy. You don't need to justify collecting dolls, plushies, cards, cute clothes.
Your joy is not a public debate.
If someone else finds your interest cringe or embarrassing,
That's their problem, not yours. Like, sorry I have swag, dude.
the freedom of growing up means that you get to choose what brings you joy, and being able to have that autonomy over yourself and your decisions,
Especially for those who were never able to make those decisions as kids.
for whatever reason that may be. Because yeah, maybe picking up that Snoopy plushie will bring someone joy. Are you a joy hater? Hater of joy? You can choose the things that bring you comfort, that bring you joy, regardless if they're immature. No one else should really care. Never feel that you are less because of a hobby you have that is deemed cringe or immature by others. As a young teen or an adult, people put a lot of pressure on you to grow up and succeed. A lot of people think there's no time to nurture your interest and joy. But I hope everyone continues to be their authentic self. I know when I see someone online or in person that shares their interests or hobbies that might be similar to mine, it makes me feel seen. It helps me build connections. Like, no way, you have a secret stash of Skylanders? Me too. This one was my favorite as a kid because I thought she was emo. Emo alert.
Keep that whimsy, because if you strip away everything that brings joy, that brings comfort,
Life starts to get really gray, gloomy, and miserable, especially nowadays. So go buy the Pokemon card pack. Get that coloring book. Grab those pink pair of shoes. Do whatever you need to do to add more joy to your life. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people misunderstand what I'm saying. This video is not defending creepy people, okay? This video is simply about people getting bullied or made fun of or feeling like they can't enjoy their interest because it is not mature enough of an interest. Thinking that liking something adorable makes them less human makes their opinion less valuable. I made a similar video kind of on bullying. I had like this Ninja Turtle jacket. I loved it. It was one of the ones where you could like zip it up over your face and you'd have a little mask. I got bullied severely, even though I was only like 7, but because it was childish, I got bullied for it. And you know what I have to say to that? Ninja Turtles are freaking awesome. I still enjoy it to this day. Maybe not in the same way I did as a kid, but I still have love for it. Don't let people take away the things you love in fear of being made fun of, in fear of being bullied. I know it can be a scary thing to tackle, but your happiness and your joy is worth way more than the opinions of others. You will find people with similar or the same interest that will treat you better. You are worth it, my BBGs and my BBB. That was not scripted. What the hell? Needville? I don't know what that was. Not anyways. Okay, thank you guys so much for sticking around. Thank you guys so much for coming to my big yap. I apologize again for the gap in uploads. I promise I am super busy. The green screen's gone because I'm trying to move stuff around. Holidays are crazy as well. My hair is crazy. Everything's crazy. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Always kind of beat myself up trying to figure out what videos to make. So recently I've just been kind of making whatever I feel passionate about. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos, but I'm always open to suggestions. You know, please let me know your hyperfixations. Let me know what your interest is. Let me know what your hobbies are, okay? Let me know, let me know. I also know a lot of people just like to listen to me yap while they eat lunch, while they draw, or sometimes while they sleep. So if you guys are cool with me just making yapping videos, I will yap all day. I got a lot to say, okay? But thank you guys so much for sticking around. Also, huge shout out to my Patreon members and my YouTube members. Awesome. Also, shout out to my subscribers. You guys are so cool, so awesome. I'm pretty close to 100,000, which is insane. My brain can't even comprehend that number. Even if we don't reach that goal anytime soon, being this close is incredible. I'm scared Thneedville is going to start playing again. Unfortunately, though, I think that is all the yapping I have time for today. So, same time next week.